stamp. He is the image of him. He is the mind of the Most High. He is the character of the Most High. And the Most High gave us his instructions first. He gave us the Torah, and which is something that we need to learn and to study and to understand. But then to see the Torah in action, now we have to look at his only begotten Son. His only begotten Son, Yahusha, is Torah in action. Well, the way the Greeks define it, they say logos became flesh. The word became flesh. And that, in the Greek, when they say logos, it's a little different than the Hebrew. It's a little different understanding. The Greek they say logos, that is the thought, his thought, his idea became flesh. And logos became flesh. Now, a lot of us like to say that Yahuwah became flesh. But when it says the logos in Greek is different from theos. You got different definitions. Now, we say word, we say God, G-O-D. It was the Greeks that took this Hebrew book and these Hebrew men who spoke Hebrew and Aramaic. It was the Greeks that took them, took their writings and their book, and then translated it into Greek with their definitions driven by their culture. And so that's why a lot of times when you start to dig into the Greek and try to get definition of words and you see the Greek definition, then you go to the Hebrew, and the Hebrew gives you a slightly different take on it, which I should say the Hebrew gives you the original. The Greeks give you a slightly different take on it because these were Hebrew men. The writers of the book were of one nation. You do get to what they call the Basora, and you have the Greek writings of Luke, who was a Greek physician. He was not an Israelite, and he did write by interviewing. He was kind of like a journalist, even though he was a physician. He talked to eyewitnesses. So he went to the Hebrew community and sought out eyewitnesses of Yahusha and got their account on things like a journalist would, but he was a physician. And so he gave his writings in Greek according to eyewitnesses. And so that's what we get in Luke Acts. Luke in Acts is from eyewitnesses. Luke did not see him. Luke did not walk with the Messiah. Luke, the only way Luke knew anything of the Messiah and his people is because he talked to his people. He was in the midst of them, and he journeyed with Shaul. He was on some of those ships and some of those journeys that Shaul took, because Shaul had several journeys outside of Jerusalem, and Luke had accompanied him on that. So you get the original understanding in Hebrew, and then you get the Greek, which in some cases could give you a slightly different angle to what the Hebrews are saying. And then you get it translated from Greek into Latin and English. Latin is, if you look at Latin and some of the letters of Latin, it looks like English, but just the way the letters are arranged and pronounced, it's Latin. And so even with that, you get a slightly different, sometimes on certain words, you might get a different take on it. He was never called Jesus, not until the 17th century. It was in the 17th century, and we're in the 21st century. And so for 400 years now, they've been calling him Jesus. And we called him Jesus. And then just recently in my lifetime, after I did some research and study and went back to the Hebrew, our father spoke from the Shamaim in the Hebrew language. Yes, he knows all languages. That's true. He knows all languages. But Shaul, who was a Benjamite, when the light shone on him and knocked him to his feet, the voice that he heard from the sky was spoken to him in English. And the voice from the sky said in English, you're shaking your head. Okay, thank you, Greg. That's right. The voice that came from the sky spoke to him in Hebrew. And he knows all languages. Yes, he does. He could have spoke to Shaul in Greek. Shaul would have understood him. He could have spoke to Shaul in Latin. Shaul would have understood him. I mean, on the cross, it was Pontius Pilate that wrote up there on the cross, Yahusha Melech Yahudim. And he wrote it in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. That was Pontius Pilate that did it. Jesus didn't come around to the 17th century. I find it, now that I walk in knowledge and understanding, when people say you're out of this name, at first I kind of took offense because I'm going, wait a minute, I'm going back to the original. You got something new. We all did. We had something new, but going back to the original, even when he spoke from the Shamaim, he spoke in Hebrew. So if anybody's got something new, it's started new in the 17th century. Even when the framers of Christianity, and they wrote in Greek and Latin, even then they didn't call him Jesus. So Jesus is a new kid on the block. And he was born into a Hebrew family, and the angel, the Malach, told him, or told his parents, that you shall call him Yahusha, because he shall save his people from their sins. And I heard a message, and he was talking about, he did get into, Yeshua, the Hebrew, and I don't know if he spoke the Greek, Iesu, which is how the Greeks would call him, Iesu, because the Greeks try to transliterate. And that's not my topic tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get into the teaching. But, I can go on and on because I've researched it. I've done my research, and we have a lot of men and women today that refuse to accept the original. They just refuse it outright. They refuse it. And so they'll have to give an account for that. Like when we were walking in darkness, we didn't know. You don't know. But now that I walk in light and I have understanding, now I want to use his Hebrew name, because nobody called him Jesus. And it might be offensive to some, but when you see him, you'll get over it. If he says, call me Yahusha, call me Yeshua, you're going to get over it real fast. When you see him. You ain't going to call him out of his name when you see him. So you'll get over it. You'll get over it. Well, we have a lot of people, they'll get over it sooner or later. All right. So who have believed our report, and to whom is the arm of Yahuwah revealed? Who has believed it? There's a lot of things that has been said about our Messiah. And, one has to, believe it. And I want to say this, the account that we have in the King James, is the Greek. It's a Greek revelation. It's how the Greeks saw him. It's how the Greeks translated him. That's what we have in the King James. It was the Roman religion, the formation of the Roman religion that actually started before our Messiah came on the scene. You had Catholic priests. You had those who were called Cretans. We call them Christians today, but they were originally called Cretans, and they predated our Messiah. And so you had the Roman, what they call the Roman Catholic Church, that has given unto us this book, and it's actually through their lens and interpretation. There's a lot of things they excluded. And if you really want to know the life of the Messiah and how the Messiah lived, because he is our example, but if you really want to know that life, you have to go back to the original, what we say in English, the Nazarenes, right? Because it says he was a Nazarene. He was not a Nazarite, but he was a Nazarene. And the reason why they said he was a Nazarene, because Nazarene was a sect, S-E-C-T. That's who they were. And that's who Yahusha acquainted himself with and was recognized with. He was not a Pharisee. He was not a Sadducee. Those were religious sects too, S-E-C-T-S. They were there as well. In fact, Shaul, where did he come out of? Which sect did he come out of? He was a Pharisee. He even told you, I was a Pharisee of Pharisees. That's the sect that he came out of. But then he got into, once he had that experience on the road to Damascus, and he was immersed, baptized in Yahusha's name, he became into that sect that what Yahusha was in. He became like Yahusha. He was in that sect. And they called it the Way. They called it the Nazarenes. They called it the Essenes. Not Estons, but Essenes. That was another one of those sects back in the day. So if you really want to know, and we might do some research on those different groups, but if you really want to know the type of life that Yahusha lived, and I know, we go to the King James, and we go to the Besorah, and we go through Paul's, Shaul's letters, but if you really want to know how he lived and who he acquainted himself with, you have to go back to those sects back in the first century. You have to dig up some information, and we might be doing that on the Hebrew Nugget. The Nazarenes, the Essenes, the Way. Some of the people called the Way, and I think they called themselves the Way after our Messiah came on the scene. But if you really want to know how they lived and how he presented himself, how he what he believed, then you have to go and dig up some information on those different SECTS sects, because you'll and then you know what that'll do? That'll broaden your understanding of our Messiah, because we only know in one way, and it's the Greek rendering. I heard a scholar say that Matthew through Revelation is a Greek writing to a Greek audience. I heard a scholar say that. Because if you go back to the original manuscripts that was written in Greek, they were not writing to the Hebrews. They took their faith, their what they believed, their Messiah, and they took it to the Greeks, those who were Hellenized, and the Greeks. That's who they took it to. So if you're reading the King James from Matthew to Revelation, you're getting it through the lens of the Greeks. And like I said, Luke Acts. I mean, he wrote in Greek. His audience, who was Luke in Acts? Who was he writing to? He was writing to Greeks. He was writing to Greeks, so just having that basic understanding, it'll help you in your development of wanting to know more about him and broaden your understanding of Yahusha, because once you start to dig into some of those SECTSs back in the first century and who he associated himself with, and it wasn't the Pharisees and Sadducees. They were his arch enemy. They wanted to have him killed. They did. The Pharisees and Sadducees was not on our Messiah's side. And he told us, he called them hypocrites. He called them vipers. He called them, he called them all kinds of Pharisees, Sadducees, which were the most religious sect of that day. And that's how he felt about them. He called them, Sadducees. Sadducees. He was not in that. And they always try to indict him on something. They always try to charge him, and try to say you ain't keeping the law. And all kind of stuff, because he did not keep the tradition. And he warned them in the 16th chapter of Matthew, he warned them about the tradition of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And you guys got to be careful of that tradition. So, and we were bound in tradition, and he's not in tradition. There is a faith walk that we have to walk before the Most High and be pleasing unto him. And he's given us a clear path, and he's given us a good example, and that's his only begotten Son. So who's going to believe it? Who's going to believe that report? When we start digging into this, are you really going to believe it? Because he was when you look at some of those SECTSs back, they were very conservative. When you look at Christianity today is very liberal. It doesn't even identify with the first century assembly. You won't even, when we dig into it and you start doing the comparison, it's like, man, how did we get so far off? Because we didn't have no choice. We had to go under those curses. But we allowed them to be our teachers and our developers. They taught us and developed us in this understanding of our book. And so that's how we've gotten so far off the mark. And I tell you what, sometimes I look at these little short clips and stuff they have out there, and I see some disturbing. I just seen another disturbing one the other day. I seen a couple. One was a man, but he looked like he was trying to transition. And he was up in the church. He had the microphone, everything. I'm going. People actually, and there's people sitting out there listening to him, and being a part of it. I'm going, what? I'm trying to. How could you just? How could you? What kind of mind do you have? What kind of heart do you have, to where you look at that and you say, well, that's okay. I guess we can. He's the preacher for tonight. How? I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. I just don't understand. Because where we come from and stuff. We're not way out there liberal. We're pretty, down to earth. And Yahushua was very down to earth. He was very, he kept the Torah. So if you want to keep the Torah, you're not going to be out. That's when I can see why the writer says, love not the world. I can really see when he says, love not the world. Because if the assembly resembles the world, then you're way off base. You're gone. His assembly and where Yahusha came from, they were not worldly. You had Greek influence, You had the Romans. You had all of that in his day. And even with some of the, I mean, we think it's really bad today and stuff, but they had live theater. Ours is recorded, you got cameras and things like that. Oh no, they had live theater. And in their assemblies and when they worship, they had live ungodly acts. I mean, that was a part of their service, their worship, and their assembly. Now, today we think of that and go, how could? But that's what they did back then. That was Phineas, right? Back in the wilderness. You had somebody that took a woman and they was right there on the steps. And it's like, how? I mean, for us to think, we couldn't fathom that. What, you going to be right out here? No, you ain't. There'd be too many of us saying, no, you got to get out of here. We're going to kick you out, whatever, call the police or something. But to them, that was like us watching TV and we watching the computer and we allow certain things, before. That's why King Daud says, I won't put no evil before my eye. They had live events. They had all kind of stuff. And if you read about those religions that some of those other nations had, they was doing all kind of stuff. Sexual, that was just a part of their worship. That was just a part of it, and you're starting to see, the modern church turn in that direction. They're really getting in that direction. But so where our Messiah came from was very they believed in keeping Torah. Their eating habits, it's even said of the Essenes that they wouldn't even eat any meat. They were so conservative that they wouldn't eat any meat at all. It was just whatever the ground produced. They wouldn't eat animals at all. And Yahusha was a part of that. The Nazarenes, the Essenes, the Way, he was a part of that. So you're talking about somebody that was very conscious about what he put in his body. Now, did they eat meat? Well, you had a lot of people that ate meat because of some of the sacrifices. There were sacrifices that the Levites were allowed to eat, and then there were sacrifices they were not allowed to eat. And so you have to go through Leviticus and you'll see which ones that they were allowed and which ones they were not allowed to eat. So they did eat meat, but it was clean meat. It was meat that was acceptable, that Yah told them, this is what you can eat. You can eat this meat, these animals, you can't eat those animals. And Yahusha kept that. But you got people today saying, just pray over it. You can eat anything. Pull anything out of the water, pray over it, and eat it. Kill anything in the forest. I seen something running around the other day. Boom, kill it. Let's cut the fur off and gut him out. Let's do a rotisserie. Wait a minute, what is it? Does it matter? Yeah. Yeah, it matters. For us, because our Father told us. But he didn't tell the Greeks. So when you have the Greeks writing and their influence on it, they had no conscience not to eat that. It was Yasharel that had a conscience like, hold up. No, that stuff ain't never. How do you know that? What did Kepha say when he had that vision? He told Yahusha, hey, hold up now. I ain't never had that. I ain't never ate nothing unclean. That's what Kepha said. He said, I ain't never done that. He wasn't the only one. There was a lot. That was just, they had a conscience. They wouldn't just to do it. Greeks weren't like that. And the Romans weren't like that. Whatever they could find and kill and eat, they would eat. So you have that influence in our writings. And you try to tell people today, Israelites today, hey, y'all, wake up, Israel. Hey, wait. He told us what we can put in our bodies. We would be a lot healthier as a people if we ate what Yah told us to eat. We would be a lot healthier. Somebody put out something the other day about where they putting swine. They're putting swine on, you take a swine and it goes into like 58 different things, or they put it in all, because people are getting away from eating swine. So they're putting it in everything. They said that there's swine in insulin. People who take insulin, you're getting a little bit of swine in you, But he told us in Yakazakal, which is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 5, I think it is, he says, you're going to eat your defiled food in captivity. So when you go into captivity, you're going to eat your defiled food. And, so we try to get away from it. To be honest with you, I don't know if Maisha knows, but I'm trying to change I'm trying to get rid of some stuff, and just kind of, snacking habits. Just trying to, if I am going to snack, I want to have yes.
Yeah, I was doing a study, and one person I was listening to was saying that Yahusha, he didn't eat a lot of meat, and the majority of his dietary was barley bread, fruits, vegetables, that sort, and a lot of meat was pretty much at the time of the feasts.
Yeah.
And things of that, or maybe a wedding or something like that. But meat was not consumed as much as we consume meat almost every day.
No, because they would, kill the animal and they would cook it. Unless they packed it in salt, it would go bad. So a lot of times they just burned it up. Because that's how Yah taught them. Once you do your sacrifices, once you eat it, whatever's left over, you burn it. So that's what they would do. They would burn it up. They didn't have refrigerators, freezers. They had salt, and they would pack things with salt because salt is a preservative, and it would preserve the meat. But they still didn't use a lot of, they didn't have leftovers. What they didn't eat, they burned up. And and you see where he came from. Now they would fish, and they would get the clean fish, and they scale it and everything, and they would just fry it up and cook it. And that was their meal. I'm gonna save some for tomorrow. It ain't gonna be good to eat tomorrow. You eat it now, and burn it, or But they ate a lot of vegetables and fruit, and we see the diet of John the Baptist, the immersion. We see his diet, very strict diet. And a lot of people think, well, that's no fun. I want to be able to eat whatever the restaurant has and stuff. And that's why our health is so bad. That's why our health is so bad. So, but, who believes it? Who believes that report of our Messiah? Because when you go into Isaiah 53, it's talking about our Messiah, but do you believe it? We find out where he comes from and what he had to go through. Do you really believe it? Because you're going to have to believe it unless you're going to miss out. At the end of the day, we have to really take a look at ourselves and to examine ourselves because at the end, you will be examined. So you might as well do it now. Practice doing it now because you will be examined at the end. Whenever your end is, it's pointed unto men once to die, and after that, here it comes. So all the days of my life, I'm preparing myself for that end. All the days of my life. Because I know for a fact that at the end, I'm going to be examined. And he gives us time, even on feasts and stuff, he gives us time. Do your examine yourself. Look at yourself. Where are you? Are you doing? Shaul says, I got to do this every day. Because if I don't do this every day, I might develop a bad habit and get something into my life that is contrary to the Hebrew instructions, the Torah, the oracles that he gave it to. I might find something. Something might get in me. Oh man, where did that even come from? A lot of times you're not doing that self-examination routinely as you should, because the day's coming, and that's why I've been teaching, trying to tell everybody, you're going to be judged by Yahusha. He's a standard bearer. That's who I'm going to be compared to. And some people are going to say, that ain't fair. Because he's the Son of the Most High. He had the Ruach without measure. But he's already gave a path for us. We don't have to carve out a path. The path is for us. It's right in front of us. Yahusha is walking right in front of us. All we have to do is follow him and do as he did. If I live my life like he did, or as close as I can in that resemblance, man, that's a boring life. You know, y'all don't do nothing. But if I compare, 70, 80 years to eternity, who ain't doing nothing? You know, I'm a party and have a good time because life is short and you only live once. YOLO, you only live once. Not exactly. Not exactly. Because Yahusha says the day is coming where everybody's going to hear his voice. And in your time, in your day, you're going to come back. And then he says some are going to come back. They're going to be resurrected unto damnation. And some are going to be resurrected unto life. So when people say you only live once, not exactly. Need to understand that there is another life. It's just that, where you gonna. Our minds are so conditioned and so framed to think a certain way and to look at this Bible in a certain way, where our minds are already framed. We can't get out of how they framed us. Y'all been framed. And y'all know how you get in a court of law. I was framed. Yes, you were. You were framed. Your thinking was framed. Your understanding was framed. Shaul talked about, in the 15th chapter of 1 Corinthians, he talked about, it was a chapter about resurrection, chapter about change, chapter about what he called the terrestrial, right? And they're going to put on what? Okay, so you got the terrestrial and you got the celestial. And he talks about it, right? So in Torah, in the Old Testament, we call them theophanies. We call them a lot of different things. Actually, they were celestial beings. Where did they come from? The Shamayim, the heavens, Shamayim. Where's that at? Above? What's above us? What do we call it? Firmament? Yeah, those are right. You call it firmament. You call it the heavens. You call it Shamayim. Above? What's above us? Stars? The sky? The dome? The sky? So you got people coming down from the sky. Above the firmament is water. And in the firmament, when we look up there, we see the decoration of the firmament. And there's beings up there. And there's times where they came down to earth. So if something from the sky came down to earth, what would we call it today? Aliens or, Well, aliens, what else would we call it? There's something we call it, which stands for what? So we call it extraterrestrial. But they don't look like the terrestrial beings. But how is that? Because see, our whole frame, our mind is already framed. Because those celestial beings that came down to the earth look like us. They look like us. We see, they call them extraterrestrials today. That's what they call them, but they're not extraterrestrials because that would make us seem like we were extra than what we are. See, that's how they define it. But the way Shaul defined it in 1 Corinthians 15 chapter, he called it celestials. And so you have these celestial. The city that we call heaven comes from the heavens or the sky. That's where it's made. It's not made on earth. It's not made with earth material. It's made up in the heavens, in the shamayim, in the sky. And one day it'll be the new earth, but it's going to come down. And in all its glory, how did Yahuchanan frame it? How did he describe it? Because he's using the terminology that he has, that he says it came down like what? Oh, y'all. Right. Like a bride adorned for what? For her husband. I mean, that's how it looked to him. That's how he's trying to describe it. The beauty of it, because it's something celestial. But he had to use earthly things that he knew to try to define something that's coming from the sky. And actually up in the sky, you have a lot of glass. They call it empty space. That's because they framed our minds, but so for us to, we just have to start looking at things from a different lens, because it was not uncommon for them to see celestial beings. They didn't have wings. They weren't all lit up unless Yah lit them up, because he tells us in Hebrews, he says, be careful when you what? Entertain strangers, because you might be entertaining. You didn't know it. I didn't know it. They sure look human to me. Our frame is anything extraterrestrial looks like E.T. Isn't it though? That's how because they're framing how you think and how you look, when our book tells us you might be entertaining a celestial being and you don't even know it. Oh man. Okay. All right. I don't know. All right. I'm just trying to get you ready. Oh well. All right. How long do y'all think the seed of Azazel has been here? His seed, because he does have a seed. And you can't tell because he looks human. That's why a lot of people are going to accept the son of perdition, who is the serpent's seed, from that gene, mind you. All right. We'll get to it. We're trying to just exercise so that we can start to think in certain terms, because you might have brushed up against a malak or an angel. You didn't even know it. You didn't know it. And I'm not telling folks to get so critical. Is that an angel? Is that an angel? Is that an angel? No. Don't start doing that. Don't take it overboard. It's just that he told us that, our deportment, if I'm say I'm like Yahuwah, Yahusha is my example, I'm going to be like Yahusha. My deportment is I'm going to treat a stranger, I'm not going to just, abuse them, run over them, disrespect. A lot of times we disrespect people, and you don't know, you might have disrespected somebody that later on he's going to say, he's going to pull it up. That's why he warned us. You might be in the midst or have a melech or a malach around you and you don't know it. Malach, angel, and you don't know it. So our deportment, if I'm trying to be righteous and Yahuliness here in the assembly, I have to show forth his Yahuliness and righteousness outside of here. It can't just be in here. And some of us, we're so nice and pleasant to one another. And then you get out there and some of your family go, I don't know what they are up in there, but when they out here, and you don't realize that one time you might have just, and sometimes, because I have to deal with myself, and then I see poor people, and I'll be checking myself. Abiyah, that wasn't a malach, was it? I don't know, because they look human. You wouldn't tell. You couldn't tell, because we think angels or malachs, they got wings, they got on their back. They might be 6-7 feet tall. Their head might have a big old light around their head, or so. See, they framed your thinking. They, because our book tells us. And Abraham, he seen Yahuwah, who came down from the Shamaim celestial, from the sky, and he had 2 malachs with them. We can take it up to the New Testament. Kepha was in prison. And an angel or a malach came and opened the door to him, going out. Get out of here, go on. The New Testament. We don't have to, we can go way back, or we can go to the New Testament. So why are you saying all this? Because our thinking, we have to start understanding this book and the power that it possesses. Because when you get so trapped into a certain frame of mind and you get into a rut and you can't see outside of it, and you're limiting the potential that Yah has given us. In Luke 17:21, oh my goodness, you mean it took you 50 minutes to get here? Luke 17:21, neither shall they say, lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of Yah is supposed to be where? Now, that's pretty tall. That's a tall statement. And let me, you don't have his Ruach in you and you don't keep his commandments. And I know there's a lot of people, and watch it, Richard, you're going to get yourself in trouble. Get yourself in trouble now. Watch it. He's not going to give you his Ruach and then you break his commandments. The purpose of having the Ruach in us and having his kingdom within us is preparation for what's to come. He's trying to prepare us. The preparation to what we're supposed to become and be and who we're supposed to be now, and once we get there, is so enormous because he intended Yasharel to be the go-between between him and all the other nations. When he chose Yasharel, Yasharel is going to be the priest of all these nations. But in order to be a priest to all these nations, you can't be like the other nations and do everything that the other nations do and then be a priest for them. He doesn't. Yahusha wasn't going to do everything that they did in his day. No. He had to remove himself. He even had to remove himself from those who were unbelievers. I got to get back. He could tell who believed and who didn't. Keep it moving. There's times where we can't allow, and that's why James says, we can't even allow to be spotted by the world if you're going to be a priest. A priest, when you look at the Levitical tribe, the priests were very restricted. And so that's, for some of us, we don't want that. We don't want that type of lifestyle that's going to be so restrictive. But to be a priest of the Most High on the behalf of all these other nations, you're going to have to pull yourself out of certain things. And he gives us the power with the Ruach HaKodesh, because he says the kingdom of Yahuwah, which is that eternal life, it's that spirit, it's that Ruach that we have, it's got to be within us. It's preparing us for what is to come. It's preparing us, for what is to come. And he gives you, you're equipped. There's going to be no excuse for failure. None. We pray for mercy, and we pray for correction. We pray for his long suffering, and he has been long suffering. He's waited, like he says, I've waited for the latter rain, for the former and the latter. I've had long patience. He says that in Isaiah 42. He says, I've waited a long time. So he has his long suffering for us. And because he is molding, making, and shaping for you to be something far beyond that you understand right now. Far beyond. So it's got to be, okay, I'm just going over because we're going to get to the next verses. But in Ephesians chapter 1, verse 13 and 14. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, we talked about this, right? Ephesians, let's start at verse 10. We talked about this, right? That in the dispensation of the fullness of times, he might gather together in one all things in the Mashiach, both which are in heaven and which are on earth, in him, in whom also we have obtained an inheritance. We have an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his will. He had predestinated and chose Jacob and made a nation out of Jacob to be a priest nation for all the other nations. That's why Kepha says, we're going to get to Kepha. That's why Kepha says we are a peculiar people, a holy nation, a what? Royal priesthood. Chosen generation. Holy nation. There was 4 things he said. Chosen. And Yasharel was chosen from the time of Jacob. Chosen. holy nation, which means the whole nation has to be set apart. If you're in this nation, you're set apart. It's non-negotiable. You're not going to negotiate with Abba and say, I want to be set apart on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but on Tuesday and especially Thursday before Shabbat, I don't want to be set apart. I know Shabbat's coming. I want to kick it because I know Shabbat's coming. Then, I want to. It's not negotiable. It's not negotiable. No. When he says you're set apart, my holy nation, it's the whole nation. You're all set apart all the time. And I know it's difficult for some. That's why he didn't choose everybody. He didn't choose everybody. Everybody can't do it. We want everybody to do it. We were told everybody got a chance. Everybody doesn't have a chance. He's opened up the invitation to other nations. Doesn't mean they're going to take it. Doesn't mean they're going to take it. In whom? Yeah. Some people don't believe. That is a prerequisite. You got to believe. Because when you believe, it's going to exercise something we're going to get into. One thing when we get to 2 Peter chapter 1. You have to believe it first. Do you believe it? Well, I don't know if I believe it. That person's not going to, well, okay. We're going to put you on the sideline. When you believe it, and you come up here. You come on in. But until you don't believe, or you're not sure you believe, and you just stay right there. And until you believe, because he wants you to believe not partially. You have to believe with your whole heart. I believe this. When I read the book, I pick up the book and I read it. Oh, I believe it. I believe it. I want a deeper, broader understanding. I want to go to the levels, to the stories. I want to be able to climb, scale up. I want that. In whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestined according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will. This is what he has done. Why, y'all? Why? I don't see why them folks. Why did you choose them folks? Take it up with Yah when you see them. Ask him, because Shaul asked the question, who's his counselor? You counsel him? Was you there and told him, don't choose them people? You're going to regret it. Don't choose them people. They going to come out of idolatry. Was you there? None of us was there. He chose us because Abraham was his friend. That's what he said. That's the only one I see in the holy Hebrew scriptures that was called his friend was Abraham. He must have been a special dude to be called his friend. Just like Moses, they call him Moses, Musha had to have been a special dude. That's why we go to Hebrews and it talks about Yahusha being anointed above all his, remember it says that? He was anointed above all his fellows. That's what they call them, fellows. That's where you get these fellowship or these, when you go to these universities and are you a fellow or, but he was anointed above all his fellows. Because the only one that I see in this, in our book that spoke to him face to face was who? Moses, Musha. That's on a different level. To be able to speak to him face to face like we're talking. That's how he talked to Moses. And nobody else had that kind of relationship with Abba. To where routinely, for 40-some years, routinely speaking to him face to face like we're talking, like this. 40 days and 40 nights, it was just Musha, Joshua, Yahusha. They call him Joshua, but named Yahusha. It was Moses and Yahusha up in the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. He was talking to Moses like this. That's special. Yahusha was anointed above that because he goes through all those he's anointed above in Hebrews, being anointed above all his fellows. But that is special. Abraham being called his friend, that's special. You know. So who's his counselor? Now, Moses did speak to Yod-Heh-Ud-Heh and told him, you need to repent. Remember that? It's in Exodus 31. Yeah, because he came down from the mountain and he told Moses, get on down. The people corrupted themselves. Go on down. And Joshua thought it was a cry to go to war. Moses said, that's not a cry to go to war. You're a young buck. That's not a cry of going to war that I hear. Them folks partying. But the Most High Yah said, I'm going to destroy them all, Moses, and then I'm going to make a nation out of your seed. And he would still be true to Abraham because Moses was out of the Levitical tribe. He was a son of Levi. So he would have still been true to Abraham if he would have wiped them all out and just started another nation out of the seed of Moses. And Moses told him, don't do that. Repent of that. Yod-Heh-Ud-Heh. Because all these other nations are going to say, you brought them out here to die. You couldn't get what you accomplished, what you wanted to accomplish out of these people. Because he told Moses, he said, Moses, I seen this people. This is a stiff neck, and they're still stiff necked today. Millenniums later, because Yod-Heh-Ud-Heh say, I seen them all the way down to the end. They still a stiff-necked people today. But because of his friend Abraham and because his love for Jacob and his love for he says, I'm going to send my son to redeem them, to get them back. All right. In whom, verse 13, in whom ye also trusted after that ye heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation, in whom also after that ye believed, ye were sealed with that Kodesh Ruach of promise. Because when you go back to Isaiah, he promised that he was going to put this Ruach in them. This is the Ruach I'm going to put in them. And so they were sealed with that Ruach of promise, which is the earnest of our inheritance or down payment until the redemption of the purchased possession. And we're waiting for our day of redemption. That's why he says in Romans, the 13th chapter, awake. It's high time you awake out of sleep because the day of your redemption is nearer than when you first believed. So it's high time we awake. Wake up. The day of redemption is coming. It's coming. So it says, until the redemption, he's purchased us already through the blood of the Mashiach. Yahushua HaMashiach, glory unto him, because he purchased us with his blood. He even tells us in Corinthians, you were bought with a price. That body you have, it don't belong to you. We think it's my body. I can do whatever I want. Not exactly. Not exactly. You know, he's purchased us, and so we belong to him, and it's going to be unto his glory when we get there. In 2 Kepha, chapter 1, and I want to start at verse number 3. 2 Kepha, which is Peter, first chapter, start at verse number 3. According as his divine power hath given unto us all things that pertain unto life and Yahuliness, through the knowledge of him that have called us to glory and virtue. So, according to his divine power. We don't want to embarrass him. We don't want to displease him. We don't want to be anemic. We don't want to be weak. We don't want to be an embarrassment to him. Listen to what he says. Listen to what he says. Verse number 4, whereby are given unto us great and precious promises, right? Not just great. Great would be great. Exceeding great goes above. Not that I want you to be great, but exceeding. Whatever you think greatness is, I want you to exceed. Now, I know me and Ak, we think the greatest basketball player was MJ Michael Jordan. I think he's the GOAT. We got young bucks, they call him LeBron the GOAT. LeBron ain't the GOAT. He couldn't. Remember they used to do one-on-ones back in the day? LeBron wouldn't fare that well with those guys in their day, and he in his day, man, there was some ballers. It's hard to tell the young crowd that now because they didn't see the greatness of that basketball player. But when what Yah's talking about, he says, I want you to exceed. I want you to exceed because I've given you something according to my divine, what did he say in the previous verse? My divine what? Well, we must be sleepy. You forget that already? According to his divine power, he's given you something. Something exceeding great. Whatever you think greatness is or whatever the GOAT is, whatever, you know what GOAT stands for, right? Right? Greatest of all time. You have to exceed that. You have to exceed it. Well, wait. That's a tall order. When we look at people that we think are so great, and it might be a talent that they have, you know. We had another Hebrew Israelite that went on transition just yesterday, Jesse Jackson. And, sometimes people look at orators and they think these are just great orators. You know, some people are very charismatic. I'm sure you've heard good. I like listening to a good orator. I still do. I like listening to a good orator, somebody that can, has got a little charismatic to them and they're able to speak and they don't repeat themselves 100 times. Turn to your neighbor. I might do it once. Now you keep asking me to turn to my neighbor. I'm not. You turn to your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor. Tell your neighbor. I'm listening to you. I'm not speaking to my neighbor right now. And then, repeat after me. Lost and found. Repeat after me. Lost and found. Repeat after me. Lost. And everybody go, and found. I mean, they get you good. To me, that's just me. That's not a great orator. I mean, somebody that's able to speak and has sometimes a flowery vocabulary, but able to speak and get their point across and start here. Believe it or not, I can follow you. You know, I can track you, believe it or not. But sometimes people think we're so limited that they have to speak very slow. Let me go on. I have fun. I have fun with it. All right. Somebody said, you're having too much fun with that. You're just having too much fun. You got to let it go. All right. All right. Whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these ye might be partakers. He wants us to be what? Huh? Partakers of? If I partake of his divine nature, what does that make me? I'm going to be divine. There has to be some divineness in me if I'm partaking of his nature. Because his nature was divine. Now, he's going to tell you how. Just stick right here. He's going to tell you how. He's going to go through it. Because this has to be in you now. This has to be in you. If you're pursuing these things, a lot of times, I ain't got time to sin. I'm in pursuit of the divine nature. I'm in pursuit of it. I ain't got time to sin. I'm going to tempt you. Get thee behind me. Like Yahusha told Satan, get thee behind me. You're an offense to me. Get out of my way. What you doing here? Get behind me. Yes.
So it's safe to say that the only way to escape the corruption of this world and the sins of this world is only by taking on the divine nature.
Yeah. It's right there. It's right there. He says, by these ye might be. Because maybe you ain't. Maybe you ain't. He's not forcing it. He wants us to. Because he gets glory out of it. Every time you defeat Satan and you overcome your flesh, he gets the glory out of it. He's glorified. I knew you could do it. See, you thought it was so hard. I knew you could do it. But for some of us, we crying and snot. It was hard. Right? Sometimes that's how we do it. It was hard. And he's just sitting there waiting. Because there's nothing that he hasn't overcome that we have to overcome. Yahusha, you didn't overcome. He was tempted in all points like as we are. So you can't say, in fact, he was tempted to have all the nations, have you? Have you been taken up to Mount Everest or Kilimanjaro in Africa, taken up there and seen all the, and say, I'm going to give him Some of us is tempted with $1,000. You give some folk, it's $1,000 Shabbat. And all of a sudden, man, I ain't seen you. When was the last? Let's check the attendance. When was the last time they was here? And you give them $1,000, you don't see them again. So I know if you was tempted to, you got some folks, they get tempted over some Jordans. Oh, why he say that? Folks lost their life over Jordans. So I know, that's why it says he's been tempted in all points like we are, yet without, because there's so many things he was tempted more. Now, you couldn't tempt Solomon too much now. He had everything. Solomon said, whatever my heart wanted, I did it. I gave it to my heart, whatever. He was in that position. And that's why Yahusha says, if you gain the whole world and lose your soul, what does it profit you? So, okay, I'll give you the divine nature, partake of having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. And like the ox said, this is how you escape. If you want to escape, got to have his divine nature. If I want to escape. That's if you want to escape. He even tells us, let no man say he is tempted above that which he is able, because he will leave a way for you to escape. You can escape. Just that a lot of us see the escape hatch or the escape door, and we don't want to take it. Our flesh. Our flesh says, go over here. Yes, flesh. Now go open that door. You're going to like what you see. Okay, flesh, since you're forcing me. I mean, whatever the flesh, we just do it. Now, over there on the table, you see a pipe, and it's got some blood. Now, go get it. The lighter's right there. Smoke it. Oh, I guess. You go get it. Because if our flesh tells us, we ain't got no power. Some of us can't overcome the flesh. Can't overcome the flesh. Now, go look at that woman. Oh, man, if you're going to force me. Right? Yeah, you've been. And then you know what we like to say? The devil made me do it. Isn't that what we say? The devil made me do it. And like we used to hear years ago, the devil sitting over there going, man, I get blamed for everything. I don't even know him. And they putting it on me. I don't even know him. That's your flesh. It's what's in the flesh. But if we have his divine nature, then we're able to escape. And he gives you some things here, and he tells you, and beside this, giving all diligence. Diligence means you got to put some effort into it. You got to put some effort into it. But you know what? There's a time we don't really listen, because your flesh might tell you, hey, we need to go on a fast. I ain't going to listen to my flesh. Right? Don't we do it? You ain't going to put me on no fast. That's the flesh. But any other time, you'll do whatever the flesh tell you to do. Except fast or pray. Folks used to get here on time, 11 o'clock, on time, sometimes even before 11 o'clock. We're going to pray at 11. We're going to start praying 11 to 11:30. Oh, there goes my punctuality. Oh, I see it. I see it. And folks roll in here. Wow, I got 5-10 minutes of prayer. Start at 11. All right. And besides this, giving all diligence, if you don't have no faith, you can't add to it. That's why you have to believe it first, because what you believe is going to exercise that faith. Faith is a currency. Without faith, you don't please him, nobody's getting in. You will not get in without faith. Faith is a currency that gets you into the kingdom. It's the currency that you're going to need to live in the kingdom. It's if you have the kingdom in you, you got faith. So if somebody says, I lost my faith, you lost the kingdom. You can't have the kingdom, and it's supposed to be in us, and be faithless. That's just almost like a prerequisite. Well, it's impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yah must believe that he is, and he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. I can't please him without faith. I gotta have faith. That's the first one of the first. So he says you got to add to it. Faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now try to use that in a court of law. You won't get very far. Because what he's dealing with transcends. We have to go above. We have to do, he didn't say just great, he said exceeding great and precious promises. This is what you're going to get. So we have to go above. And then Yahusha says all it takes is just a grain of a mustard seed. Because a mustard seed is pure. It's pure. So what he's saying is, you don't need a lot of faith. It just has to be pure. Got to have pure faith. That's what he's dealing with. Got to have pure faith. And you'll be able to move mountains. We'd be able to, there would be nothing, especially mountains. And when we say mountains, there's a lot of things that comes against us that is monumental. They're huge. Some of us can't climb this little hill out here, let alone climb a mountain. But there's mountains in our lives. There's big things in our lives that we're able to say, move, get out of my way. So I got faith. Because he says, all you got to do is speak to it. Get out of my way. We think the devil is so big and bad, all you got to do is get behind me. Get behind me. Because we have this picture, our minds is framed that the devil looks so scary, so evil, and he's red, and he's got fire coming from his face, ears up here, claws, and he's just breathing fire in you. And folks, you look at him, you're going to be scared to death. No. Because Shaul says he appears as an angel of light. He's going to look so appealing to people. And what he says is just going to draw. Virtue. So we have to add to our faith virtue. So let's look up that word virtue. Let's look up that word virtue in the, can you put up there on the screen? Virtue. Oh, let's see. It is G703, right? G703, is that it? No, virtue is G703. Yeah, okay, scroll up. Virtue, the same as G. Yeah, you had it.
No, it's okay. It's the same as 7:30.
Yeah, this is it. Okay. From the same as properly. Properly, it means what? Manliness. valor, excellence. So if I'm going to have virtue, I'm going to have manliness. Or you're dealing with something that's very mature. We got to get out of this immature stuff. If you want to, if you got this power in you and you want to be of his divine nature, how old was he when he was talking to the doctors and the lawyers on the Sabbath day? Whoa. How old is Robert? 14. Oh, he's old. Noah. How old is Noah? Is he? How old is Jaden? 15. We got no 12. Can you imagine our young brothers, love them all, can you imagine them sitting down talking to doctors and lawyers of the law? Our teenagers. It's funny, huh? Folks laughing. That's funny. You got jokes. That's what somebody said. Oh, you got jokes. Right? Is that what they say now? Oh, you got jokes. No, but that's how he was very much. Because see, when we look at where he came from in the SECT, S is that he was a part of, because he was not a Pharisee or a Sadducee. But he was very, he got to this place of excellent at a very young age. Yes. Both. Yeah, he got a lot of teaching from his father and his mother. And then he had the Ruach in him. He had the Ruach. He was of the Ruach essence. But he knew he had a short time. And that's why he told him, hey, I've got to be about my father. I don't have a lot of time here. I have a lot of things to do. I know I'm going to leave early because I came to die. So, but he had virtue. He had manliness and excellence. That was his nature. That was his nature. And he says, I'm going to give you power to partake, right, of the what? The divine nature. So we might be a few years past 12, but we could still get here. And he even tells us it's better to know your Creator when? In the days of you need to start. That's why when they're born, we got to start with them. I'm going to wait till they get such. No, at birth. They was probably singing songs, teaching them the commandments. We teach our grandkids the commandments. Well, I'm going to wait till they go to Sunday school. Why? Why are you going to do that? Yes. Uh-huh.
Was talking back to him, and I just was overwhelmed just listening to him try to explain things to her. And then he was talking about his brother. He said, now, he calls him James. He says, James is not like me. He's still young. He's going to have to grow up to be able to do what I do.
Uh-huh. It's your interaction with those children at a young age. It's your interaction. You can't leave them to themselves and leave them in front of a TV and just leave them. You can't. It's that interaction with them. And we used to have it back in the day. We didn't have all this stuff. We couldn't wait till summer got here. We was outside the whole summer. We weren't playing video games. That wasn't, but we had more interaction socially and with our friends and stuff than what a lot of kids have now. And then the interaction with your parents, because your parents would even tell you to pray before you go to bed, say this prayer. And they would teach us how to pray, that interaction and stuff. Kids don't get that. Now, I'm not saying nobody gets it. I'm sure you still have families that do that. But in the wide path, right, don't get that. But I'm sure you have some, you know. And so they're put on a different track to get to this than some others. You know, because it is, you can't lose sight of it though, you know, because you can start them off and then something comes along, they get sidetracked and they don't pursue it. Because I could think of your grandson that used to carry a Bible. We thought, oh, he's going to be a preacher. I mean, started off on that path, but what happened? Got sidetracked. We don't want him in church. We don't want him carrying the Bible. You don't want him carrying the Bible. So he gets sidetracked. And then, well, I don't know what happened to him. I do. You know what? What do you mean you don't know what happened? When you start him off like that, keep him on track. And it's not easy, but if he's giving you or you've been able to partake of his divine nature, you know the power that you possess in this. When you add, faith, virtue, you know what else is said up there? Valor. Did y'all see that? Did you see valor? Let's go to the dictionary. Let's look up that word valor. Let's go to dictionary. Look up the word valor. See what that is. That's libation. Let's go to valor. V-A-L-O-R. O-R. V-A-L-O-R. Okay, let's blow it up. Can y'all see it? Valor is defined as exceptional courage, bravery, and strength of mind. I'm so scared. Scared of what? I'm scared of the devil. Tell him to get behind you. If you can't see him, out of sight, I don't mind. He ain't got no power if I can't see him. You're afraid of what you see. I ain't afraid of what's behind me. I can't see it. Not unless I turn around and take a look at it. We sleep outside in our tent. That first night, I can't hardly sleep that first night. Outside, I can't hardly sleep that night because I'm listening to everything. Yeah, we heard those owls. But sometimes you hear little, four legs and they running. What was that? But if I don't know it, I'm not afraid. It's just that once it becomes to my conscience or I see it, I see. And when we were in, I guess I can tell it now, it's safe. But when we went to Bloomington and we had Sukkot at Bloomington, I think that was your first one. We had Sukkot at Bloomington, Indiana. Remember we went to that one? We was back in the woods. And so one morning I got up. I get up early in the morning. I went over to where because they had a little shack, like a little place where you get water, stuff, that little water stand there. You can wash out your dishes and wash that out. So I was over there and I was washing things out, and I'm washing out. This thing runs across, I would say from where Darius is, where I'm standing here, I'm doing it, and he about that far away. And it was on all fours. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't. It was bigger than a raccoon. I mean, it was probably about this tall off the ground. It had kind of like a black and brown coat, had a short tail, lanky. And I'm going, what in the world is that? So I go to Zakeem Johnson. I go, Zakeem Johnson, I don't want to alarm anyone, but I seen an animal, and I don't even know what it was. It wasn't a deer. It wasn't a deer. And I tried to describe him to him, and he says, that might have been a link. A link. I go, oh, okay. Because, I mean, he was just galloping around. He looked at me and kept on going. I looked at him. He kept on, gallop kept going. I'm going, what in the world is that? And he says, if you don't bother with them, they usually just, And usually animals, if they feel threatened, if they don't feel threatened, they just go on about their business, everything. If they feel threatened, then they might. But so we agreed, don't tell nobody in the camp what you saw, because we don't want people to get alarmed and get scared. Now, if I'd never seen it, I wouldn't have. Nobody else seen it. We weren't concerned about a link in the neighborhood. Huh? Yeah. And and I don't want to alarm anybody. We go, we got Suko, Coach Gerard like. Exceptional courage and bravery, strength of mind, particularly when facing great danger or in the context of battle. Listen to this, strength of mind. Strength of mind when you're faced with what? Great danger. Strength of mind. And that's what having valor, which is one of the definitions for virtue. That strength of mind. So that's why he says, let this mind be in you, which was because our Mashiach. And so when we look at our greatest adversary, which is Azazel, Satan, Azazel, we look at him in the face of that, whenever he's around, in the face of that, we should have enough courage and strength that if he comes presenting himself before me, I got enough strength and courage, strength of mind to tell him, get behind me. You're offense to me. When, here's another one. I mean, there's a lot of cases where we won't be get all into all of them, but when Michael, the archangel, was confronted by Azazel, he didn't go into no, man, we're going to go into Gabriel, I need about an hour, 2 hours of some strong prayer. And we're going to go after this Satan, Azazel. What did Michael say to him? That's all he said. That's all he said. He said, Yahweh will rebuke you. That's it. I mean, sometimes we get real dramatic because we're afraid. That's why we get so dramatic. Because we're scared. And instead of telling y'all I'm scared, I'm calling everybody up. Now I need some strong prayer warriors. Do y'all know y'all can pray? What about laying hands on yourself? Oh, Yahusha, you got to take, man, Yahusha's name. I'm going on my Oh, no, you can't, it ain't that simple. No, we got to get into this thing. I want one of them prayers that reaches the throne. It did. Because all Michael said is, Yahuwah rebuked thee. He didn't bring no railing accusation against him. He didn't do it. He just says, Yah rebuked thee. And Yahusha told us, Satan, get behind me. When he was tempted, what he responded with is, the first three words he said is what? It is written. He went right to the word. It's written. That's all he said. It is written. So what I know about the word, and I know about Torah, and I know what is in store for us, yeah, sometimes you might have to bob and weave. We get with, Azazel, we got to bob and weave. But a lot of times, it ain't Azazel you fighting with. It's your own flesh. And he might send an imp. It ain't even him. And we scared of our shadow. I've been up here in my office, and I could almost tell you, I ain't here by myself now, because I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. I mean, I'm hearing, and it could be the wood moving or something. You do, because at one time we was all downstairs, and we said, "Who's upstairs?" Ain't nobody upstairs. Ain't nobody upstairs. No, we heard. No, somebody's upstairs. We heard footprints. Footsteps. We heard it. And I mean, I hear stuff. I'm here by myself. I'm going. Well, I guess it's time to go home. Something's telling me it's time to go home. But he wants us to have that strength of mind when we're faced with great danger. We got strength of mind. And when I hear people say, I don't know if I can make it. Where's your valor? This thing is too big for me. I can't handle it. I think some of the hardest things to handle is death of loved ones. Outside of that, what you afraid of? Because to me, death of a loved one is very hard. It's heavy. But when people talk, and we all seen it, you go to these funerals, and Yah Baruchim, that's all, Yah Baruch. But you see folks, and they just don't want to part, and they pulling all on the casket. Let them get in there. But I mean, because some people can't, and I know it's heavy, I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's not hard, it's not heavy, but and we got a lot of stuff to go through because he talks about once you go, and y'all read that, and we'll finish it up on the Shabbat, because he talks about if these things be in you and abound, which means it can't just be in you, it's got to blow up. It's got to blow up. If these things be in you and abound, and we talking about, he's given us a down payment, an earnest. That's what he says. I'm giving you an earnest of this kingdom, just a taste of it. And if just with this earnest that we have, if these things be in you and abound, we can do it. We can do it. And that's just getting us prepared. Because when I look at it, I'm trying. What's folks talking about? They can't make it. Can't make what? You can't make a pie. Sometimes I can't make a pie either. I can't make it. I don't think I can make it. I can't make a cake either. My cakes probably wouldn't turn out too good. What you talking about? You can't make it. You can't make what? I don't know if I can make this journey. No valor. You ain't got no valor. He did not start you off on this journey for you to quit. He didn't start you out like that. He chose you and started you on this path because he's seen your end result. Because I'm equipping you with everything now. I'm going to even give you a down payment of what's to come in this kingdom. So we'll talk more, right, on Shabbat. We just have to realize we're getting closer and closer. This is going to be, I hate to make predictions, but 2026 is going to be interesting, especially if we're in a full-blown war. It's going to be, and I'm hoping they don't go to war. But things going to happen. He declared the end from the beginning. It sure looks like, because we're getting ready to send over the aircraft carrier Ford. Abraham Lincoln's over there. I think he's getting ready to send Ford over there. Huh? Yeah. Now you're not going to do that. I mean, even the clandestine. I mean, the cost of all of that, and the clandestine effort that goes into all. And you've been in the services, Yeah, you've been over there. I mean, you don't do that if you ain't expecting once it starts, you want to be able to sustain and keep the soldiers and I mean the whole clandestine effort into it is enormous. So we got to really prepare, because they said some people are speculating when the war starts and they close up the Strait of Hormuz, you're going to see the gasoline prices go through the roof. And if the gasoline prices go through the roof, everything that moves is going up, because that's how we fill up our stores. Clothing, food, everything is by fuel, trucks and stuff. It's not osmosis. It don't grow in Hy-Vee. I mean, all that stuff got to be tracked. And everything's going to go up. Everything. And we're really going to have to depend on one another as Mishpacha. To really depend on one another. And we all are tied into one another. If you're in the body of the Mashiach, yes.
Working in my field, I have learned that where to start looking to invest. And a lot of it is in trading.
Trading? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Find out what areas in trading is showing high value.
Yeah. Our whole monetary system is going to change. They've already started. The handwriting's on the wall. A lot of the bankers are trying to prevent this digital currency that's coming, cryptocurrencies that come in. They're trying to prevent it. But especially if this war breaks out, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So we have to look at what's, like you said, look at what lies ahead, where to. And I don't know, they did say in 2027 they're going to start. Is it 2020? Yeah, I think 2027. Carnival cruises are going to start on the east coast of the United States. Carnival cruises are going to start to have. Are you sure? Because they're going to Africa. They're going to start having cruises to Africa on those boats, those big cruise liners. Which caught a lot of people like, whoa, they're going to start excursions to Africa? Yeah, they're going to line those boats up. They're going to start going. Might be telling us something in advance. Because see, the Most High always lets you know, he kind of gives you an ideal, because there's a lot of preparation that he wants his people to do, to prepare yourself. And so he'll warn you. He always sends out a warning. Before he brings judgment, he'll send out a warning. That's just our Father. We see that in the prophets and in the nation of Israel. He always sends out a warning. Go warn the people. you know. And those who are preparing themselves gives us a chance to get in that position so that when that judgment comes, because it's going to happen, and can't stop it. So we'll be back on the Shabbat. Say shalom, shalom to everybody that tuned in on the platforms we're on, hoping everybody was able to hear and receive something on tonight. We'll be back on the Shabbat. Let's keep our Koti Joy Stewart in prayer. We're praying for you, Koti, if she's listening. Pray for her mother. She just lost an aunt. And before that, she lost a member. Huh? Not yet. No. She's ill.